7th of March 2021. That was the last time Manchester United got a positive result away from home against Manchester City, courtesy of a Luke Shaw goal and a Bruno Fernandes goal, making it 2-0 in what was a comprehensive win and a great afternoon for many Manchester United fans across the globe. Since then, Manchester United have not had any positive results against Manchester City, barring the FA Cup final recently and of course the Community Shield, and it's been a pretty one-sided affair. And as a Manchester United fan, I've got to be honest, up until this weekend, I haven't been very emotionally invested in Manchester derbies. I haven't been excited. I haven't really felt any positive emotions leading up to these games. And even in the ones that we've won or the ones where we've performed really well, it hasn't felt the same. It just feels so one-sided up until now. For the first time in a long time, it feels like there is jeopardy. It feels like there is something at stake. It feels like this is a leveler. Partially because of how bad Manchester City have been, but also partially because of Manchester United's obviously new rebuild under Ruben Amorim. And that's what I want to talk about in today's video, because from both sets of fan bases, I think that this is a must-win game. From a Manchester United point of view, obviously there is less pressure because we have a new manager. We're at the start of something completely new, but it is still a derby and I still want us to win. And from a Manchester City point of view, there is even more pressure because for Pep Guardiola, 10 games, 1 win, 1 draw, and 8 losses? It is absolutely unacceptable, regardless of injuries, regardless of burnout, regardless of context. That is completely and utterly unacceptable for the defending champions. So this, for them, is a statement game. This, for them, is a must-win game. Players like Phil Foden, players like Bernardo Silva, players like Jack Grealish, players who've been massively underperforming for weeks, now have to show up. They need to put their hands up and say what's up in a big game for their team and make a statement, because I think this is the game where Manchester City could genuinely turn a corner and turn their season around. But for Manchester United, I think it's more or less the same. We haven't really had a great season. We're obviously 13th in the league at the moment, but in terms of our recent form, it's not too bad. We haven't lost a game under Ruben Amorim, and actually on recent form, we're much better than Manchester City. So for us, I think this is a game where we can continue to build some momentum, and this can be a game where we can actually test whether or not the recent form under Ruben Amorim is just a fluke because they haven't been convincing performances, let's be honest. The Ipswich game wasn't particularly great. The Leicester game, Leicester are a poor team, so we're expected to kind of beat them. The Everton game wasn't particularly great either, even though we won 4-0. It was not a completely dominant game. So Manchester United haven't really been tested yet, and that's what this game feels like right now. So this is a very big game for both teams. And from a Manchester City point of view, honestly, I think they've had a lot of underwhelming individual performances. We can talk about Pep Guardiola. We can talk about the tactics and the lack of new ideas. We can talk about injuries. But there's been a lot of players in that Manchester City team who I think should hang their heads in shame for some of the performances they've put in this season. I'm looking at Savino. I'm looking at Jeremy Doku. I'm looking at someone like Phil Foden. Somebody who was touted as one of the best players, not just in the Premier League, but in world football, who's been poor for a very, very long time. And the thing with Phil Foden is it's not just a Manchester City issue, because he wasn't good in the Euros for England either. Phil Foden is a player that I don't think has been terrible. I don't think he's a bad footballer, but for the level of hype he gets and for the standards that he set for himself last season, he has dropped off massively. And I think that's my issue with Phil Foden. So if there are any Manchester City fans watching, don't misinterpret this for me saying that Phil Foden is a trash player and that he's horrible. No, I am saying that Phil Foden is meant to be the guy that drags you through the mud. Based off of last season, he's meant to be the guy who now kicks on, builds some momentum, and actually shows that he is capable of carrying this team through the dirt without Rodri, without Kevin De Bruyne, without key performers in that team. And so far, he hasn't succeeded, in my humble opinion. So far, Phil Foden has shown to me that he isn't that guy, that this isn't his team, and that they need Kevin De Bruyne, they need Rodri, they need every other player to be fit and available in order to kick on, and that's not a good sign. So this is a big game for someone like Phil Foden, in my humble opinion. He needs to say what's up, he needs to score a goal, needs to get an assist, or just have an amazing overall performance. But he isn't the only one. I think somebody who deserves a lot more scrutiny and somebody who definitely deserves a lot more criticism than Phil Foden is Kyle Walker, because Kyle Walker is a seasoned veteran in that Manchester City team. He's somebody who knows how to win. He understands the ethos and the culture of the club. He's worked with the manager and some of those players for such a very long time that there is no excuse for him to drop his levels. And there are so many things about Kyle Walker's game that I feel like have diminished over the years. I mean, some people have always thought that he was just a pace and power merchant anyways, and was never really that good anyways, apart from his athleticism. And those people are starting to seem more and more justified because his recent performances have been awful. His positional awareness, his decision making, and just his overall lack of concentration in the key moments for Manchester City have been very disappointing. He's another player who needs to step up big time this Sunday. So Manchester City, they've got a lot to prove this weekend, but let's talk about my beloved club, United, because we've got a lot of players as well who have been massively underperforming for a very long time. And what's weird about Manchester United is every player, whether you like them, whether you hate them, has been a victim of poor club structure, poor man management, and poor tactics under the previous manager. But I've almost reached the point with some Manchester United players where I don't even care anymore. I don't want to give them a clean slate. I don't want to give them the context or the benefit of the doubt. I'm talking about players like Marcus Rashford, players like Garnacho, players who've been at the club for a very, very long time. And yes, Garnacho's young. Garnacho's come through the academy. But when you look at the amount of games he's played and you look at the level of experience that he should have at this point in his career, I genuinely believe that he is worthy of the criticism. For me, he's at a point in his career now where it's make or break, it's sink or swim. And for me, he's sinking at the moment. I am sick to death of watching him. Same with Marcus Rashford, 27 years old. He's been here for a minute now. I think we need to move on from this guy. I cannot believe there are still people who believe that Marcus Rashford is going to magically turn it around and that there is still a fairy tale story at the end of the tunnel or over the horizon. I think it's done. There are so many players in that dressing room. Diego Dalot is another one of these players. I love Diego Dalot, and I've defended Diego Dalot a lot over the years. I've defended him so much over the years, but I think he's another one of those players that if he was sold, I would not lose sleep at all. And honestly, I feel like that could be said of like majority of this Manchester United squad. So this weekend is a game for a lot of these players to prove themselves, not to us, but to the manager. Because to us, I think most Manchester United fans have made up their mind about majority of players. I mean, Andre Onana is another example of a player that I think is beyond the point of no return. I think a lot of Manchester United fans have written him off. I'm not one of them. I personally still do like Andre Onana and believe that he's a good goalkeeper, but I understand why people have written him off, and I don't blame them because he has made some unforgivable mistakes, and that's where we are with Manchester United. So that's why this game is so important. It's not just about the 3 points. It's not just about beating our bitter rivals. It's about redemption. It's about proving to the new manager and to some of the fans that these players still actually are capable of being here, not just playing in the Almiron system, but playing in a red shirt for Manchester United Football Club. So it's a huge game, a huge game, and I don't think that can be overstated enough. But anyways, it's been your boy Triple M. I am going to wrap up the video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What are your score predictions for the Manchester Derby? And who do you think will reign supreme? Because honestly, I genuinely don't think this is going to be a straightforward game for either team. This is going to be very scrappy. This is going to be very chaotic. And I honestly think that it might actually be a very cagey game. I don't think Manchester City are going to completely destroy us. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I still don't think we're actually going to beat them. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. I think there's going to be goals. I think it's going to be a drunken bar fight. And I think it's going to be an entertaining game for neutrals. But I don't really have enough confidence in my team at the moment, despite how bad Man City are, to actually win away at the Etihad. Because we're still Manchester United. And there's still a lot to prove as far as I'm concerned. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid when it comes to this team. A lot of these players, for me, the jury is out on it. Leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And don't forget to leave a comment. Peace!